Beneath the sagging beams of a rural Ohio barn, an impossible collision of worlds has been ripening for nearly 3 decades. It is a place where the organic scent of dry hay and weathered wood is suddenly interrupted by the sharp, metallic ghost of old-world Italian ambition. Draped in a thick, suffocating pelt of grit sits a shape that looks entirely foreign to its surroundings, a low-slung, aggressively wide icon of 1980s excess that has spent 28 years slowly becoming one with the dust. This is not just a car. This is a 1981 Ferrari 512 BB, the Berlinetta Boxer. It is a masterpiece of Italian engineering, a middle finger to the aerodynamic constraints of its time, and it has been left to the elements since the late 1980s. For nearly 3 decades, its only companions have been the mice nesting in its leather and the birds perched on its legendary Pininfarina lines. Today, that silence is finally broken. How does a car like this end up in a barn? It is the question that haunts every enthusiast who hears the phrase, "barn find Ferrari." In the world of automotive archaeology, this is the holy grail. While the landscape is often dotted with rare muscle cars and forgotten domestic classics, a 12-cylinder Ferrari left to rot is a different level of tragedy. Walking around the machine for the first time is a sensory overload of neglect. There are bird droppings from the 1980s baked into the finish. Debris is caught in the iconic side cooling fins. The massive mono-wiper, a singular, defiant piece of design, stands frozen in time. It is a piece of high art that has been exiled to the hinterlands. There is a profound irony in seeing a machine birthed in the high-tech corridors of Maranello, now resting on a floor of loose hay and dirt. Every great find has a gatekeeper. For this boxer, it is Mr. Schoen. He did not arrive to greet the recovery team in a modern SUV. He pulled up in a 1932 Ford Rat Rod, a growling piece of American muscle that served as a stark contrast to the sophisticated Italian thoroughbred waiting inside. Beside him was his granddaughter, Lily, the catalyst for this discovery. It was her vouching that convinced Mr. Schoen to finally reveal his sleeping beauty to the world. The story of this Ferrari does not begin in Italy, but at the legendary Ed Weaver auction in Dalton, Georgia. Ed Weaver was a mogul who treated supercars like currency, amassing over 300 machines, anything with wheels that ran. In the early 80s, Mr. Schoen went to Dalton with a specific hunger. He wanted a Lamborghini Miura. Weaver had 6 of them on the block. Confident in the odds, Schoen sent his son and nephew to drive through the night, armed with a bidder's pass and a letter of credit. But as the auction progressed, his gaze shifted. He didn't choose the bull, he chose the Ferrari Berlinetta Boxer. The reason was purity. By 1981, the automotive world was shifting toward the cold efficiency of fuel injection. The 512 BB was the last of the breed to use carburetors. Mr. Schoen wanted the throatiness, the raw, unmasked scream of 12 cylinders breathing through Weber carburetors. He wanted a car that felt alive, even if it was temperamental. For a few years, it was his pride. Then, as life, children, career, and the slow march of time took over, the Ferrari was tucked away. A temporary storage solution became a 28-year sentence. To understand the weight of this find, one must understand the 512 BB's place in history. Released at the 1976 Paris Auto Show, it was Ferrari's defiant answer to the Lamborghini Miura. For years, Enzo Ferrari had resisted the mid-engine layout, famously claiming that the horse pulls the cart, it does not push it. The BB proved that the horse could indeed push. This car was never officially sold in North America. Strict emissions and safety bumper laws made the BB a forbidden fruit. Every 512 BB found on American soil today is a grey market import, brought in by enthusiasts who navigated a mountain of paperwork just to experience the 180-degree V12. On this specific car, a grassroots license plate bracket, fashioned from chicken wire and US-based bolts, remains as a testament to the struggle of making an Italian rebel legal in the States. Moving a Ferrari out of a 30-year grave is not a matter of hook and pull. It is a delicate surgical procedure. When a car sits this long, rubber perishes, lubricants turn to wax, and brakes often weld themselves to the rotors. The recovery specialists utilized soft shackles, anchoring them to the heavy-duty points of the chassis to avoid putting stress on the brittle suspension. As the winch tensioned, there was a collective breath-holding, a groan of metal, a snap of breaking stasis, and the 512BB began to roll. For the first time since the late 80s, the sunlight hit the Rosso Corsa paint, or what was left of it beneath a thick grey carpet of filth. Once at the shop, the team was joined by John Sabo, an automotive consultant and owner of Bulletproof Performance. Looking at the engine bay of a 512BB is like looking at the movement of a Swiss watch. But lifting the massive rear clamshell revealed a grim reality. A sprawling rat's nest occupied the valley of the engine. John's assessment was a sobering reality check. "Do not put power to it," he warned. "An engine that has sat this long has dry cylinder walls and timing belts that have likely turned to glass. In a Ferrari Flat 12, a snapped belt means the pistons and valves have a violent, six-figure meeting. A full engine-out service is the only path forward. In today's market, a mechanical restoration for this car can easily reach $40,000 to $60,000. One of the most remarkable aspects of the find was what remained inside the car. In the front frunk, a leather briefcase was discovered. It was a work of art, tan leather, embossed with the prancing horse, containing the original toolkit. Inside was the most important tool for the 512, a lead hammer. The 512BB features center-locking, knock-off wheels. To remove them, one must strike the center nut with a hammer. Ferrari provided the lead hammer because lead is softer than the chrome of the nut. The hammer is designed to sacrifice itself, deforming with every strike to ensure the car remains pristine. It is a brutal, visceral piece of engineering from a time when driving was a physical labor. Sliding into the cabin of the 512 is a trip back to 1981. The layout is purely driver-centric, with gauges angled toward the pilot and a gated manual shifter featuring a dogleg first gear, down and to the left. The odometer, marked in kilometers, reads 31,700, roughly 19,000 miles. However, the interior told a story of neglect. The smell was a potent cocktail of old leather, damp foam, and mouse droppings. In high-traffic spots, the rodents had ground their waste into the genuine Connolly leather. Fortunately, the Italians provided a design gift. The carpets in the 512BB are held in by heavy-duty buttons. This allowed the detailers to remove the entire floor covering and clean it outside the vehicle, preserving the original materials while extracting decades of filth. The leather was treated with the reverence of an ancient scroll, using hand-massaged cleaners to hydrate the hide without erasing the patina of its history. To address the exterior, the team brought in Jason Kilmer, a world-renowned paint correction specialist and two-time Riddler Award winner. Jason's story is one of incredible resilience. Born with cerebral palsy affecting his right side and depth perception, he has spent years overcoming physical challenges to become a master of his craft. He does not just look at paint, he feels the chemistry of the surface. The 1981 finish is single-stage paint. Unlike modern cars with a clear coat, single-stage paint is the pigment and shine mixed together. As Jason worked his buffer, the polishing pads turned a vibrant red. He was quite literally leveling the original 1981 paint. He identified crow's feet and checking micro-cracks in the bodywork caused by the fiberglass and resin expanding and contracting over 30 years in a non-climate-controlled barn. "This car needs a restoration," Jason noted. "But what we're doing is a preservation." He tackled a deep scratch near the nose emblem with 3000 grit sandpaper and a wool pad. Slowly, the chalky oxidation vanished. The Rosso Corsa began to glow with a depth it hadn't possessed since the Reagan administration. The process was grueling. Specialists spent hours on the slats, the black cooling vents that define the Boxer's silhouette. Each vent was cleaned by hand with a microfiber towel wrapped around a finger, reaching into the recesses to remove the dead paint. The engine bay was shielded with plastic bags to ensure no water entered the intakes during the wash. Iron removers were applied to the wheels, melting away decades of brake dust to reveal the silver finish of the 5-spoke alloys. When the final sealant was applied, the transformation was staggering. The Ferrari had regained its dignity. It wasn't perfect, the scars of the barn remained, but it was once again a machine that commanded respect. When Mr. Sean and Lily returned for the reveal, the atmosphere in the shop changed. The skepticism was replaced by a quiet awe. "It's a deeper red than I remembered," Mr. Sean whispered, as he sat in the driver's seat, his hands finding the familiar grip of the wheel. He spoke about the exhilaration of the standard shift. He described how a car like this acts as a psychological reset button. You come back and you have a different frame of mind in an hour. It doesn't matter what transpired before you left. That is the true significance of the 512 BB. It is not just a high-value asset. It is a machine designed to remind its driver that they are alive. This recovery coincided with a major milestone, the channel reaching 1 million subscribers. It felt like destiny. A journey that began with simply cleaning dirty cars had led to the preservation of an Italian icon. The barn may have claimed 28 years of this car's life, but the exile is over. The Rosso Corsa is no longer a secret. It is back in the light, a red streak of defiance, waiting for the moment its 12 cylinders fire once again and scream towards the horizon. Some cars belong in museums, but the Berlinetta Boxer was born for the road, and soon the road will have it back.